Hello tubers, this is Kurt from Edibles and Exotics coming to you from sunny Mesa, Arizona. Today I'm going to talk about this blue Java banana right here behind me. Been having a conversation with a viewer on one of the other videos about the growing bananas. This person lives in, if I remember correctly, it was zone 4B, which is pretty far up north, way different from what we have here. And he's attempting to grow blue Javas, I think a super dwarf, and another variety or two in pots. And he was wondering about how long it takes to grow to flower, how long the flowers have to stay on there to form bananas, and how long it's going to take to harvest. So all my bananas I grow in ground here. They're heavily mulched, they're composted in place, I give them additional nutrients as needed. I give them wood ash from the fireplace, which is a great source of natural potassium. There's springtails, there's isopods, there's worms, nematodes, there's all sorts of goodies in the soil breaking it down for me. So basically, his questions, like I said, were about growing them in pots. So when it comes to growing them in the ground, you really need to be pretty much zone 9B or higher for most varieties. There are some novelties like Bosju bananas. I don't grow them because the bananas are either not edible or just not good to eat. They say they're more cold hardy than most varieties, but with most varieties, when they say that, they mean it might take 2 or 3 degrees cooler. It might grow a little better at lower temperatures. It's going to suffer at higher temperatures. That's why I don't grow bananas like that. Another reason, the more cold tolerant the plant is, the less heat tolerant the plant's going to be in most cases. So, like I said, this one behind me, it's a blue Java ice cream banana. It's a very popular banana. Grown in the ground, these were kind of stunted because I've pulled these pups off over the past couple of years and either planted them throughout the yard or gave them away. So now that I'm growing them, this one's been in the ground, I think like somewhere between 6 and 8 years. I can't remember exactly. But, now that I'm growing them for production, I'm done giving them away and stuff like that. And, really don't sell too many of them. There's a very big competition for bananas, and the prices just aren't there. It doesn't really make it worth my while. So now that I'm growing them for production and aesthetics, I'm not pulling any of the pups off. There's a very big misconception when it comes to banana plants and the pups. Everyone always says leave only 1 pup to replace the mother plant, or leave 2 or 3. You'll get smaller bunches if you have more stalks coming out of the main corm. And that is true, but you got to think of it this way. If you have, especially in this area, if you have 2 stalks that are fruiting, yeah, you're going to get less fruit on each stalk, but that fruit in total is going to be about the same as what you would get if you only had 1 stalk. And the good thing about having more than 1 stalk fruiting, especially here, is our summers are brutal, so the heat and the sun, it really does a number on bananas, and sometimes they just rot, and then you don't get any fruit at all. Or we have windstorms, and these guys, they are very prone to snapping, and high winds. You got, especially if you have a 100-pound or 50-pound or whatever bunch of bananas, a whole rack hanging off of it. You get a windstorm, that's a lot of weight that's pulling on that stalk, and chances are it's going to snap no matter what you do, unless you encase the whole thing in wood and tie it up and go crazy with it. But they usually do snap. I've had multiple trunks snap on a lot of different bananas, especially carrying fruit. So if you have multiple fruiting stalks and one of them snaps, you still got the other one, so you still get bananas. So that's a great, that's a plus. It's positive. So in my opinion, I would let them grow. The other good thing about not removing the pups and letting them grow naturally is they produce all these dead leaves. These dead leaves, I've said it before in another video, these shade the trunks. So You could paint them. You could see I've painted these before. There's a little bit of trunk paint left on there. That'll reflect the sun and keep them cool. You could do a homemade sunscreen out of blackboard chalk in a spray bottle. That works great too. I'm going to do a video on that if you guys are interested. So yeah, when you leave them in a bunch like this, you know, you got the dead leaves, it creates shade. It creates a little microclimate too. So as the leaves transpire, you know, they release their moisture into the air, and that kind of gets trapped in there. So it creates a more hospitable environment for the bananas, because, you know, here we get down into like the 3% humidity, and it's, you know, 112, 115 degrees, and that's in the shade. So in the sun, you know, you got the sun beating down on this tree, and, you know, the surface temperature of the leaves, it can get up to 150 degrees, and that's just going to kill the leaf, you know, and then you wind up with possible rot traveling all the way down that leaf stem, all the way down to the base, and killing your plant or making it weak. So I highly recommend in Arizona, if you're growing outdoors, to leave them as a group, let them grow naturally. You know, if you want to pull a pup off here and there, or, you know, if you really don't care about that, you could probably get the plant to survive, you know, painting the trunk or putting up shade cloth or planting a shade tree over it or something like that. But it's just better to let them do their thing and grow naturally. You know, nature knows best. They've been doing this for thousands of years, and they're pretty good at it. You know, they will survive. You know, like I said, this one's been in the ground somewhere between, I think, 6 and 8 years. And, you know, the sun comes up. This is an east-facing wall. The sun comes up. It heats the wall behind the banana plant, which is the house. It gets pretty hot. So I would say, you know, just let them grow, let them do their thing. It'll definitely help them out. And if you could plant the shade tree, like maybe a moringa or something where it gives it dappled light instead of full-on blazing hot sun all day in the summer, it'll help. It'll also help keep the frost off the plant. It'll hold, you know, the shade tree will actually hold a little bit of heat in there, and it'll keep the banana plant warmer in the winter, so you have less chance of getting frost damage, especially planting it next to a house like this. You know, the wall holds heat in the winter because there's not too many leaves on the trees. So that wall will hold heat, and then also the heat coming through the wall from inside the house will actually also keep the banana plant a few degrees above freezing. You know, on those off chances you get frost, it protects the plant. These banana plants, the blue javas in particular, they are a full-size banana, so they will get pretty tall. I've had these plants as tall as the highest point of my house, which my house is 21 feet at the top of the roof. So they've been as tall, a little bit taller. Not so much the stalks, but the tips of the new leaves reach well over the roof of the house. So they do get tall. Grown in a container, they're not going to get that tall. You know, they dwarf out. So you don't have the root area. The plant sees that. It knows, hey, if I get too tall, I'm going to fall over. So they don't get that tall. They'll stay probably, you know, depending on the pot size and how you have it growing, they're probably only going to get about 8 feet tall. They're going to stay dwarfy. And when it comes to these bananas, you know, everyone reads online, you know, this is one of the misconceptions. They say, you know, this banana plant, if grown from, let's say, a tissue culture, it's going to produce bananas in, I don't know, let's say 1 year. Well, 1 year growth from a tissue culture to fruit production, not harvest, but putting out a flower, that is an optimal condition. So these guys are native to the tropics. Unless you are in zone 11 or numerically higher, that's not the tropics. You know, Arizona is the subtropics. We don't have the humidity. We don't have the rainfall. We don't have the same kind of soil as they do in the tropics. There's not a lot of dead material. You can artificially create that like I've done and other people have done, but it's still not the tropics. You don't have the humidity. The temperatures in the summer are blazing hot. It's a different environment. So when you read, you know, this time and that time, they're probably not talking about where you live, unless you live in South Florida or the Caribbean or some U.S. territory out in the ocean or something. It's not the same. So what I found is tissue culture grown bananas here in Mesa, if you treat them right and they don't receive any sort of heat or frost damage, it's going to take anywhere from 3 to 4 years from planting that banana tissue culture, you know, a little 3, 4, 6 inch tall tissue culture, until it actually fruits. And depending on the variety, like this blue java, for instance, it could hold on to its flowers and bananas for anywhere from 6 to 9 months. So you get a flower and you get all excited. Well, you might be waiting anywhere. I mean, it could be as short as 4 months, but you're probably going to be waiting 6 to 9 months until you're ready to actually harvest and eat those bananas. And that's through the summer usually, and it's a crucial point. So I got all excited about this one because it seems every year when I get bananas, before they have a chance to get to the harvest point, the sun or the heat cooks them, turns them black, they rot, and I got to chop it down and let the pups take over. Or it gets so heavy, it starts to fall over, or the wind snaps it in a storm, no matter what I do. So this guy, I'm going to show you in a couple of minutes, it's starting to get what's called a flag leaf, and then a terminal inflorescence, which is the flower emerging. So I'm going to get up there with a selfie stick. I'm going to boost you up there, and you guys are going to see what it looks like. And I'll talk a little bit about the leaves. So back to the YouTube viewer that commented. So like I said, he's growing in pots. He's in zone, I believe it's 4B, way up north. Freezing cold. You know, they get a very short grow season there. I would assume it's probably not more than 2 or 3 months. I told him, you know, unless you're going to do a heated greenhouse, you know, your grow season's very short. If you grow it indoors, it's going to need very, very, very bright light. You're going to need the humidity right. You're going to need airflow, because they do need airflow indoors to properly breathe and transpire. If your plant's not transpiring, which is basically evaporating water from its leaves, it's not going to draw any water out of the soil. So if you give it fertilizer and water and there's not enough airflow to help evaporate that water off the leaves, it's not going to suck up any water, and it's not going to suck up any fertilizer. It's going to stagnate and probably develop some sort of rot on the roots, which is not good. It's just going to kill your plant. I found with bananas, once that rot starts, unless you catch it just in time and trim off all the roots and let it dry out and replant it, it's just going to die, especially a tissue culture. You know, tissue cultures, when it comes to a tissue culture, all these bananas, these dessert type bananas and the plantains, they don't produce seeds. So they're sterile. So, you know, if you get a grocery store banana and you look inside, you'll see the little black dots. Those are the remnants of seeds. They're never going to sprout. I do grow seed-grown bananas, and the seeds are pretty big. They're somewhere between the size of a BB and the size of a marble, and they're rock hard. So if your banana doesn't have that, it's not a wild banana. It's going to be bred specifically for eating, whether it's a plantain or a dessert banana. So the only way they can reproduce those is either tissue cultures, or in vitro they call it. Basically a test tube baby. They grow them in a lab on a petri dish, and then they move them out to a greenhouse and then a shade house and harden them off and then sell them as plugs. The only other way is a pup. And with pups, you got to be careful, because you could transport pathogens. You know, if you get one, let's say from Puerto Rico, grown in someone's backyard, they're selling on eBay, and you buy it, well, you could transport those pathogens to your yard, and that could damage the environment. It could damage your yard. You could wind up with some sort of virus spreading from that banana pup to your other established bananas, like Panama disease and stuff like that. It could be really bad. So you got to be careful with that. You know, try to get a pup and make sure it's coming from a reputable person. Bananas.org is a great place for information on bananas. They got a wiki page, and they got a forum. You could ask questions, and you know, there's a lot of growers, trusted people on there that have been doing it that aren't going to lie to you. They're going to sell you something good. They're going to sell you the right variety. Just like the Blue Java here. A lot of people sell Cavendish and Namwa and all these other bananas. They claim it's a Blue Java, but it's not. This one is actually a true Blue Java banana. So you got to be very careful with that. You don't want to pay $60 for a pup and then find out it's a $30 pup from another type of banana that, you know, it's still a good banana, but it's not what you paid for. You know, it's kind of disheartening. So you got to be careful with that too. So I do recommend bananas.org or a local nursery or someone like me that's growing them. They have, you know, proof of what they have, and they'll sell you the right thing and help you take care of it, tell you what to do. So yeah, back to, I know I keep jumping around, I apologize, but back to the growing in pots indoors. So bananas do need a lot of natural light. you know, if you're growing indoors and you want a really successful grow, you're going to need some pretty heavy duty lighting, maybe a big picture window that faces south all winter. A heated greenhouse is going to be your best bet. Indoors, you know, you're going to need the airflow, like I said, and it does get pretty involved. There's videos on how to do it. I don't do it, so I'm not going to really give you my opinions on it too much. If you want to know what my opinions are, you could ask in the comments, or you could find the questions that the other viewer was asking and just follow through the question and answer portion of that. So now I'm going to show you the flower and how the flowering works. All right, guys, so I'm going to move you around here with the selfie stick, and I'm going to try to show you exactly how many pseudo stems or stalks that there actually are. At the spacing between them, you'll be able to see, just get a general idea of what the plant's supposed to look like. So let's get started with that. All right, guys, so here's the stems. There's quite a few. It seems to put out about 3 to 4 pups a year. And these came out last year, so these literally are only maybe about 9 months old, and you can see how big they are. They're pretty big. There's 3 pups, and then the main parent plant. So this parent plant, he's 2 years now, so it goes way up. This is it. Like I said, you can see the leaves are there. You can see some of this trunk paint because the other pups weren't shading him. And that's it up there. You can start to see the flower coming out. I'm going to move around and get a better angle here so you can see that a little better and boost you up. So if you look at these leaves, guys, that leaf right there is probably 4 feet long. All right. So what they start to do is they start putting out shorter and shorter leaves. So you see this leaf here waving in the wind? That's about probably 2.5 feet long. All right, so that's the first signs that it's going to flower. And then what they do, they put out what's called a flag leaf. So if you look right here, you can see this leaf coming out. It's really weird looking, and then there's a little one right below it. Right? Those just came out. It's the middle of the winter here. It's the middle of January, and it's putting out a flower, which is great news for me because hopefully before the heat hits and the wind hits, this guy will fruit. So let me come over here. Here's another view. Here's the back side of it. All right, there's the flag leaf popping out, and this bulge right here, that is going to be the flower. Right? It kind of almost looks like an ear of corn when it pops out. So by leaving all those pups in there, what's going to happen is, like I called it before, I named it a terminal inflorescence. What that means is that flower, once it pushes through the leaf sheath, right, you get the flag leaf, and then you get the flower that comes out, and then you get the stalk that hangs down with the bananas and the male flower. That, once those bananas ripen, that plant will never put out another fruiting stalk. So normally what you do is after you harvest the bananas, you cut that stalk down, you mulch it up, you lay it around the plant, you let the soil organisms gobble it up, and that feeds the parent corm underneath the ground, which all those other stalks will gobble up that food, and they will produce bananas next year. So we're going to have, you know, the 3 stalks, the 3 pups that are sticking up around that main one, they're not going to fruit this year. They'll fruit next year. So next year, we're going to have 3 fruiting stalks or pseudo stems, and that's going to double our chances of getting bananas. Hopefully they put out fruit just like this one in the winter, so we get harvest early to midsummer. And it should put out a lot more pups too. Like I said, I'm going to let this guy go, so we're going to have a banana stand. You know, it's going to be a big banana bush. You know, a whole bunch of stalks sticking out. Like I said, we'll have this one's going to be cut down probably midsummer after we harvest the fruit. We're going to have 3 remaining, and we're probably going to have a bunch of other ones. So hopefully, if all goes well, we'll have another 3 or 6 pups coming out, and we'll have 3 stalks next summer that hopefully we could harvest fruit off of. So I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about how I grow these guys in the ground. Normally, if I'm going from a pup or a tissue culture, I try to grow that until it's really starting to grow vigorously. So putting out new growth, new leaves, and then I know it's pretty rooted out. You know, I grow them in grow bags, so I don't overwater them. You know, they're in good soil. I don't use recycled soil. I don't use compost or anything like that. I usually mulch the top. So I use my sugarcane stalks. I let them dry out. I grind them up with a chipper shredder, and I spread that on the top to give it a little bit of shade and keep the evaporation down in the summer. But yeah, I grow them until they're growing vigorously. Height really isn't a thing for me. It's, you know, just when I see that they are established in that pot and ready to go, and then I'll prepare the soil. I have a whole grow guide if you guys are interested in. I could post that. It'll tell you how to plant or grow any tropical in the Mesa area, Phoenix, Valley of the Sun. So with these guys, usually what I do is I dig a hole, a square hole, kind of tapering down, and take the dirt out of the hole, and I'll either do wood chips or logs or leaves or something on the bottom to act as a sponge to hold any excess moisture, and release it as needed as the soil dries out above it. And I'll mix composted cow poop, not straight cow poop. It's got to be composted, and I don't use steer manure because that's very high in salts. And I mix that 50-50 with the dirt that I took out, and I backfill the hole. And what I'm left with is a little bit of a mound. And what I do with that mound is I'll dig out a little trench around it, and so it kind of looks like a circle going around it to help hold the water in. And then I'll push down the center a little bit, and I'll plant my banana plant in there. So it's a little bit above grade because it's going to settle as the plant grows, as the air comes out of the soil and it compresses. It's going to settle and probably wind up being close to ground level. And then I mulch it 6 inches to a foot deep. I add worms, I add springtails, I add isopods, and then I will add some compost, some fresh kitchen scraps, uncomposted compost, so fresh kitchen scraps, and then I just water it. And usually that's enough. Sometimes you got to add a little bit of fertilizer. I might add, you know, just a little bit of water soluble I usually use because it's easier to rinse out if you over fertilize and it's immediately available, so you can see if it's working or not. You don't have to wait months to see if you need to add more. So I usually use something like Miracle Grow or Stay Green, and then I'll add a little bit of potassium to it, a little bit of magnesium, manganese, and chelated iron. Chelated iron is a very important thing here, and so is manganese. It's in the soil, but it's not very bioavailable to the plant. So I'll use chelated iron. I get it from a hydroponic supplier. It's good for up to 11 points pH, so it's perfectly available to the plant. When it comes to hole size too, guys, bigger is better. If you could do a big giant hole, you're great. You don't want to dig a 1 foot hole and then plant a banana tree in there that's going to get, you know, 15-20 feet tall, and, you know, put out multiple stems and have a 3 foot spread at the base. So, you know, banana roots, there's a lot of misconceptions about that. They grow down. I've dug down 3 feet and found banana roots underneath this guy. I have a mulch bin that's probably, I would say, 12 to 15 feet away, and I found banana roots growing through the soil that 12 to 15 feet and then up into the bottom of the compost bin eating the compost. So banana roots, they will go far. If they are trapped under heavily compacted clay soil, especially dry clay soil, they're not going to go through that because they are a very soft root. They're not a woody root, but they will travel far. You know, a tree like this, if you let it go for a while, I mean, it'll go everywhere. It's not going to damage any foundations. It could get into your plumbing, so watch out for sewer lines and stuff like that. But yeah, it shouldn't lift any foundations. It's not that type of root system. Very fibrous and spreads out kind of like a grass. It doesn't have a taproot, so it's not going to go way down. But like I said, I've dug down 3 feet and I found them. So as for fertilizing, I think the wood chip mulch and composting in place is pretty much all you're going to need. Once you really get that mulched and composted and it really starts breaking down, your plant, if you try to fertilize it, you might actually burn it or stunt its growth. I've noticed that a lot. So, you know, when you first plant it, if the soil isn't rich enough, you could always amend it a little bit, like I said, with some water soluble. But once it's established, if you follow what I said, you're never going to have to do anything, just add water. So in the winter here, we've had an unusually wet winter so far. It's rained every other week, and we've gotten like an inch of rain. It's supposed to rain again tonight. Let's see, today is Saturday, so they're saying between this Sunday, tomorrow, and Wednesday, we're supposed to get somewhere between an inch to an inch and a half of rain. And then it's going to get freezing cold after that at night. So we're going to have some frost. So normally in the winter, you know, if you get rain every 2 weeks, you're fine. You don't have to worry about watering, especially if it's mulched. If it's every month, you might want to watch it after the third week and possibly, you know, just give it a little bit extra. In the summer, I water this guy. I don't flood it. So that's another thing. A lot of people think, oh, you know, they need a lot of water. It's the summer. You just really got to watch for the leaves. You know, the leaves will fold up. It's a natural reaction to the sun. They fold up, and then at night they probably will open up a little bit. But if the leaves start drooping, meaning hanging down, so if they really start hanging down like that, you know, and they really need some water to them, then yeah, definitely water them. You know, water them good, but you don't need to water them every single day, flooding them, because that's just going to take all the air out of the soil and flush all the nutrients away and possibly kill your soil organisms that are helping breaking down that soil, compost and stuff. So yeah, I would say usually in the summer, every other day is fine. You can water them every day, just don't give them as much. I usually just use a hose end sprayer, or I turn on my micro sprayers and let those go for an hour. And that's pretty much it. They should do great for you. As far as sun goes, like I said, if you could plant them next to like a moringa or something where they get some shade protection, paint the trunks, don't cut the leaves. You know, they usually do pretty good in the sun. You might get some burn back. You got to watch for that. If the leaves start burning, give it a little bit of shade cloth, but you got to leave some headroom too between the leaf itself and the shade cloth, because that shade cloth, it's underneath, even though it's mesh, it's going to get hot there. So, you know, if you're in the sun, like I said, it can be 150 degrees underneath that shade cloth. So you leave a little space for some airflow to get through to bring the ambient temperature back down. Your banana should do just fine. I wouldn't plant it in total shade, because the winter, that could invite frost. In the summer, it's just not going to get enough sun, and it's going to grow very slowly. So if you're planting it for fruit, it could double the time it takes to fruit. Instead of 3-4 years, it could take 6 to 8 years for that plant to actually fruit, just because it's not getting enough sun. And then the fruit may never develop too. It could hang on there for a year and then just decide to abort, fall off, rot, whatever, and you're not going to get fruit. So it does need sun. I would say, you know, everyone always talks about morning sun here, or half day. I think what they mean when they say morning sun is up until like about 9:30 in the summer. That's morning sun. The rest of the day, you know, dappled light, full shade. Depending on where you live, you might not have that option. I wouldn't recommend planting these out next to a swimming pool or out in the middle of your front yard that has nothing but crushed rock. They are a tropical. They're not meant to grow here, but they will grow here if you do it right. Definitely, if you can grow some ground cover. I grow, as you can see here, you got some sweet potato vines. Just bought some sweet potatoes from Walmart, threw them in the ground, they grow. They're a great indicator. If you're underwatering, you'll see the leaves on those droop before your banana plant leaves. So that's kind of cool. You know, it's a sacrificial plant. You probably won't kill it, but the leaves will droop. It'll tell you, hey, soil's getting dry, let's water it, you know, before your banana leaves droop. So that's a good thing too to consider. You know, you could also grow bananas next to other plants. As you can see, I got a papaya growing next to it on the other side over there. That's shading it pretty good from the sun that comes from the south. You know, once it gets midsummer, the summer's a little bit more north than directly overhead, so it gets a lot of sun. That's why I got the moringa tree here to try to shade that. And another thing I've noticed a lot with banana plants, guys, is they choke. They call it choking. So you'll get a leaf, the new leaf that comes out, it's kind of rolled up. They call it a cigar leaf because it's kind of shaped like a cigar. And a lot of times what happens is a lot of different varieties, Rajapuri does it, Blue Java does it, they start to choke when they don't get enough water. So I don't know if it's not enough water pressure pushing the leaf out, or if it's not enough lubrication for the leaf to slide through the bunch of leaves that make up the pseudo stem. But if you start getting choking, you see a cigar leaf come out and it just won't make it, you know, give it a little bit more water for a couple of days and see if it helps. Not so much in the winter, but in the summer, you know, you give it a little bit extra water and that should help. If it doesn't help sometimes, guys, you got to cut that stem. So you're going to want to cut it off, and it'll put out that leaf, and then the next leaf, you know, that leaf will probably die. It'll probably come out all pale and yellow, but the next leaf will come out and it'll continue to grow and it'll be a-okay. So that's my advice, guys, on growing bananas outdoors in the Phoenix area. No, it wasn't as thorough as I'd like to be. I kind of jumped around a little bit, but my wife right now is sick in the hospital, and it's been very hectic, and I'm trying to get the video out there and trying to keep my viewers happy. Hopefully this helps my viewer that had all the questions. So if you have any more questions, guys, hit me up in the comment section below, and please don't forget to like my video, watch my other ones, subscribe, share, hit the bell so you know when I got new videos coming out. I'd really appreciate it. It'd be awesome to get more viewers going here and try to grow this channel and get a good community going. So again, this is Kurt with Edibles and Exotics in sunny Mesa, Arizona, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Thank you.